What's up? This is I am on my way to California for the Idea Fitness convention, the World Convention, and it's kind of my favorite time of the year. It's been interesting because I haven't looked forward to it as much as I normally do, just because of my Achilles injury. Because I know it's going to be a struggle to get around, and I don't get to work out like I would like to. But yeah, I'm on my way there, so I thought I would talk a little bit about people who have trainers, and they may have multiple trainers. And one of the things that I think is important to get a hold of, or to kind of garner, is if you have multiple trainers, or you do multiple things in terms of exercise, you need to communicate with those trainers on what all you're doing. I think that people who do this don't necessarily think about the implications that each workout is going to have relative to the others. So if I have a couple clients who go to multiple trainers, this side of town, that side of town, and I meet with them maybe once a week, sometimes twice, and sometimes there's 3 times a week, because they're a high volume exerciser. And that's one thing that's even more important, is if you're a high volume exerciser, there's a weird plane right above the interstate. If you're a high volume exerciser, you're going to want to really pay close attention to what that is you're doing with your volume. So, for example, let's say on Mondays you do Olympic lifts. On Tuesdays you work with another trainer. On Wednesdays you go back and you do your plyometric days or your power days. And Thursdays you decide to do another class, another high intensity interval training class. And then on Fridays you do a kettlebell class, let's say, right? So within those things, you need to understand that if you go hard on Monday, you're going to have some issues on Tuesday. You're going to have some issues on Wednesday. So you really need to communicate with your trainers, or you really need to communicate with yourself and the programs that you're doing, and make sure you get adequate recovery from what you've done previously. And a lot of times people don't even factor that in the case. They just think more working out equals better results. And to a point, yes, if you're working out once a week, yeah, more working out than that is going to yield better results. But if you're working out 3 times a week, depending on what you're doing, those 4th and 5th days may not be beneficial to you. And you need to communicate to your trainers what you're doing on some of those other days. So, for example, I may train someone on Wednesday, but they have another session with someone else on Tuesday. Now, if I don't know what they're doing on Tuesday, I could be repeating the process, right? They could be doing, heavy front squats on Tuesday, and then my plan for them on Wednesday is heavy front squats and pistol squats and rear foot elevated split squats. Now, some people might say that's a lot of volume in itself for the day. I might be one of those people. But if you already did those yesterday, you are not going, and you killed it yesterday, you're not going to benefit by doing it again Wednesday, the next day. So the lack of communication is probably hindering your results. So a lot of the people that I have, I try to get an idea of what they're doing outside of me, because some people just won't work out, unless they have trainers, and they may not be able to get into you all the time. So they may need to find other solutions than to working out with you. So if that's the case, you want to know what the plan is on those other days. And this message is more for clients I think trainers do a decent job of understanding that, hey, you probably want to have a more well-rounded idea of what your client's doing on the daily so you can better prepare for them. But a lot of times the client won't necessarily tell you, and you've got to kind of figure that out on your own. So sometimes you have to deload. Like you have to maybe take a different position on what your intentions were training these people. So for example, my people, a lot of times I have to kind of go into more mobility work or more movement work than I would like to, because I'm kind of unsure of what they've been doing with their other trainers or what they've been doing on their own, because of that lack of communication. Now, that's not something that you can, your client's gonna have to freely give that information up. And a lot of times when they think that, oh, you think you're gonna be offended if they go work out with somebody else, they won't tell you that they're doing that. And that's okay. But if you can figure it out, if you can understand that they're doing that, you're gonna have to adapt and you're gonna have to change your mindset as the trainer. But as a client, trust me, your trainer would much rather know that you're doing other things and what those other things are, so they don't hurt you, right? Ultimately, we don't want to hurt anybody. We want to improve the function of everybody. But if you're working out 5 times a week, you're not giving yourself enough time to recover from one workout to the next, then you're driving towards an injury. You're not really driving to get better, right? Recovery is where you actually get better. The training is where it hurts. So as the client, just communicate with your trainers, right? Just freely communicate with your trainers, because once they get, there's that punch in the gut that you perceive is going to happen, they'll get over it, right? They'll get over it, and they'll actually have a much better plan for you than if you just kept quiet and didn't say what you were doing on the off days from your other trainer.